I was at a gas pump 7 or 8 years ago, pumping gas and putting fuel in my car. And there was a sticker that was on the pump. And it was a campaign that, it might have been a national campaign, it might have been the state of Ohio. But it was a sticker of a seatbelt. And what it said was, what's holding you back? And I saw that, and I knew what the campaign was all about. It was a slogan that was really trying to provoke our thoughts. And it was really asking a question, and I began to ponder that question that they were asking, because there were a few layers to it. It's kind of a double meaning. It was to get us to think, what is keeping you safe? What is it that's keeping you from hitting the dash or the windshield should there be an accident? And then the double meaning is then also if that's what's holding you back, then the other meaning is what's holding you back from using what's holding you back. What's stopping you? Why wouldn't you want to be saved in an accident? It's there so that you can live. But what's holding you back? It seems like such a small thing, but such an important thing. It provokes the questions, and while I was standing there, I was thinking about the spiritual applications, but it was asking me, why don't, and I do wear my seatbelt. I thought it was interesting a number of years ago when I had a motorcycle, I had a road bike. It was a Hurricane 1000. It was a race bike. And at the same time they were passing the seatbelt laws, they were also passing a law that we didn't have to wear motorcycle helmets. Couldn't figure that one out. Never have figured that one out. So being young and dumb, I seized the moment and didn't wear my helmet. And fortunately, never got in an accident, but I look back and call myself young and dumb because that's what I was. But why wouldn't we do something that would help us to be saved in an accident? So I began to ask myself, what's holding me back? Now I would wear my seatbelt, and I always was in a habit of wearing my seatbelt, still do. But what are some of the reasons that we might say that we wouldn't wear our seatbelt? What are the minor inconveniences that would be life-changing, life-saving if you just snap your seatbelt? Later on, it became click it or ticket, because now they moved past you just wanting to be safe yourself. Now we're just going to ticket you. So now, if you won't have enough reason to do it yourself, then we're going to help. We're going to impose some rules and some laws to help you with that. And so it takes a little time to put your seatbelt on. Everybody say time. And so you get in, I want to start my car, I want to take off, but it takes a minute it doesn't take a minute, it takes about 2.5 seconds to just reach over, click it in. So there's time. We're a limited time, and so we want to get to where we're going. So it just takes one more thing in my life to have to be concerned with. But so it might take some time. There's some inconvenience. There's just getting in your car and sitting down and driving away. And so there may be some inconvenience. Maybe you don't have quite the freedom in your car. Maybe it pulls on you when you go to get your drink out of the console. Maybe it tugs on you, so you have to do it a little bit slower so it doesn't catch on you. And so there's some things that might be some little inconveniences, but we're talking about being saved in an accident. I suppose some of my work with the Highway patrollers may be more conscious of that and hearing of crashes and being a little bit more alert and aware of some of the things that I've experienced and hear about, and in some of those cases hearing if they would have only had their seatbelt on. If they would have only taken the time, if they would have not seen that it was really an inconvenience, but it was something that could help them to be saved. It can be uncomfortable. Long trips, it can start to, you have to kind of loosen it up a little bit and kind of reset it or unclick it and click it back in just to get it to adjust a little bit. It can be a little uncomfortable. It can affect the way you look because it might wrinkle your shirt or your blouse or your tie or your coat. And so you may not look quite the way you want to look. We sometimes just are preoccupied. There's a lot of thoughts on our mind. Why didn't you wear your seatbelt? I wasn't even thinking about it. It didn't become a discipline. It didn't become a habit, so I just didn't get around to it. And again, that can be a fatal mistake. Here's another one that I think we would probably think is that, well, I wasn't going very far. Well, statistically, most accidents happen within about 5 miles of your house. Now, that may also be because statistically, you're always going to be close to your house. I mean, at some point, no matter how long your trip, at some point you're ending up close to your house. So that may skew the statistics a little bit, why the numbers are so high, so close to your house. But it also could be that sometimes we just relax and we're more easily distracted when we're closer to home. And so we're not driving. I'm not going to be out very long. I'm just running to the store. And so we're not anticipating an accident that close to home. We're not anticipating that today's the day that something might happen where I would need to be saved. So logically, how do any of these compare to the benefits of being safe? Every one of these were just minor things that could save you, save your life. And so this whole thing while I'm standing there pumping my gas, realizing that in the natural and in the spiritual, that you can't anticipate the day that you're going to need this. Barbara Mandrell, a family of singers here a number of years ago, they were in a catastrophic car crash. And as the story goes, she almost lost her life with a seatbelt on. Barbara Mandrell of the Mandrell sisters. And so the story goes that they were driving down the road and her kids said, "Mom, you didn't put your seatbelt on." All right. And moments after she clicked it, a head-on collision, a catastrophic car crash, still almost took her life. And so we can't anticipate the day we might need it. Once you do realize you need it, it's too late to put it on. It's already happened. It's over. The opportunity to be saved is done. And so what the question was in this whole campaign was, what's holding you back? And is it worth it if you need it? Few would argue, doctors, trauma nurses, and ER staff, that wearing your seatbelt is your best bet to be saved. As I looked at that, I couldn't help but think, and it was only about a second. Now, these things I began to kind of go through as I was thinking about it after I drove away. But while I was looking at that, I read the sticker and it said, "What's holding you back?" And I'm telling you, it was that fast, and the Lord asked me a question. What's holding you back? Now, there's two different ways that I'm going to help us today. And one is for somebody that's making their way to the Lord, and somebody that's realizing that maybe my way isn't the best way, and you're trying to navigate through the God questions and through the eternity questions. I'm trying to help you to answer the question today, or to at least ask you to answer the question yourself. What's holding me back? What's holding me back from making that decision? What's stopping me from taking the chance of a lifetime to be saved? Everybody say saved. Is it these minor inconveniences? Is it the minor discomfort? Is it the minor things, the reasonable service that the Lord may ask of you? Is it that I still am a young person and I have my whole life ahead of me, and it's a short journey? I'm just a young man. I want to enjoy my life. I'm a young lady. I want to enjoy my life first. There's all kinds of questions we may ask yourself, but the question really is, what's holding you back, and is it worth it? What's holding you back from taking your next step closer in your commitment to God? So it may be somebody here that is really trying to find God. We've all been there. But lest somebody here would relax and say, well, I've already found the Lord. Let me help you to understand that this was 8 years ago while I was pastoring this church, and the Lord asked me, while I looked at the sticker, what's holding you back? So whether you're here and trying to figure out if this God thing is real and this eternity thing is real and seeking for Him, or maybe you're already a couple steps past that and you know that the Lord has been talking to you and been drawing on your heart and been giving you this curiosity and sharing His love with you, that maybe you're in that season. You could be there, then what's holding you back from taking that next step? But you may also be somebody that has known the Lord a long time. You could be like pastoring of a church and have God still ask you, what's holding you back? In other words, what's holding you back from your next commitment? What's holding you back from your next sacrifice? What's holding you back from what I've called you to do that you've been reluctant to do? This step that you've been wanting to take. What's holding you back? Who's holding you back? What circumstances holding you back? What thing, what person, what relationship, what is in your life that is possibly worth holding you back from that next step that I have for you? What's holding you back from being all that God called you to be? At your birth, God had something that when He saw you, I've got something great for you to do. Not all of us are called to be missionaries or pastors. I was climbing telephone poles for a living. God called me to do this, and so I left that to do this. Not everybody's called to leave their full-time job to go into full-time ministry. There are people that are called to be mechanics, people called to be accountants, people called to be housewives, people called to be attorneys. You're called to whatever God has developed and through time and circumstances and life and your upbringing and schooling and all these things. God has uniquely put you in positions, but the position that you're in, what is God now saying? Here's your next step, whether it's in that position or out of the position like He did with me. And if it is within your career path, what is that next step that He wants you to do for Him? Letting His light shine through you. Doing something that God is calling you to do. What's holding you back from being what God called you to be? Well, maybe I don't view myself the way God views me. That's holding you back. Much of my battle is trying to see myself through His eyes and not through my own eyes. Not through my own limitations, not through my own past, not through my own disappointments. Trying to see myself not through His eyes, but through the eyes of what others have said about me. That can hold me back. What's holding me back? Could be what's holding me back, what's holding you back from being saved. Well, I'm not sure I want to make that commitment. Once you click it, that you've committed. You don't just like put a slip knot in it. You either click it or you're vulnerable. That's one or the other. There is no in between. And so what's holding you back from being saved? What is restraining you is what the message was on that gas pump. And so in that story, it's an indication that thing is there to restrain and hold you. But I'm going to just kind of flip that a little bit, that what's restraining us isn't what's saving us. That's what's keeping us from being saved. That thing that is keeping me from trusting the Lord is that thing that's holding me and you back. We have scriptural references of this. We have Mark 10:17 through 22 about the rich young ruler. He had it all. What was holding him back? Well, he had it all. He was so blessed. He was a godly person. But God said to him, so this wasn't a question of, are you serving me? This is a question of, are you going to follow me? You see, you can serve the Lord and not follow him. You can be a good church person. We've been going through this series. I'm reluctant to say the name because the Christians are here today. But it was discipleship versus Christianity. And what I mean by that isn't true biblical Christians as in a follower of Christ, a Christ-like person. That's what a Christian should be. But Christianity has become a cultural thing. I kind of go to church. Yeah, I kind of know the big guy, but it doesn't change my life. It doesn't transform me. I'm not a disciple and a follower of him. I'm a Christian. And I'm a cultural Christian. I'm a member of a church. And those are the people that sometimes when they say they're a Christian, you try not to act surprised because their behavior and their jokes and the way they conduct themselves at work and their integrity or the lack of integrity, all of a sudden they say, well, I'm a Christian too. And you go, oh, you try not to be too surprised. So you can be one of those and still not be a follower and have something hold you back from those steps that you're walking with Christ. All of us should be following him, which means there should be progress, which means there should be motion and movement. None of us should just reach this place of plateau, of this, I'm good where I am right now. That's not his plan. If we're going to be a follower, then we're just not standing with him. We are walking with him. And that's why the Lord was able to ask me 8 years ago, well, I've been pastoring at that point almost 20 years. That's why he was asking me, what's holding you back? To me, it wasn't a salvation question. To me, it was a question of, are you going to continue to follow me where I lead you? There's going to be some difficult decisions. There's going to be some commitment. There's going to be some new clicking, some new commitment, some new areas that I have to decide for myself that I'm not going to allow these things to hold me back. So we see in Mark chapter 10, verse 17, and when he was gone forth into the way, there came one running and kneeling at him. Sounds like to me that the guy was really wanting to be with Jesus. He came running and came to him and kneeled at his feet. So far it looks good. It looks like a great potential for a disciple here. And he asked him, good master, what shall I do that I may inherit eternal life? And Jesus said unto him, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. Thou knowest the commandments, do not commit adultery. Now he's giving him the do's and don'ts, right? Do not commit adultery, do not kill, do not steal, do not bear false witness, defraud not, honor thy father and thy mother. And he answered and said unto him, Master, all these have I observed from my youth. I've done this stuff since I was a kid. All those things you just said, I'm following all those. And Jesus, beholding him, loved him and said unto him, one thing thou lackest. Look at your neighbor and say one thing. If you're under 50, ask somebody after church about this. But there was a brother Columbo a number of years ago that, all right, I don't know if he was brother Columbo, but there was Columbo that had a wrinkly overcoat, trench coat, and a little stubby pencil. And he was a detective. He worked for the police department in California. And so there's a television show called Columbo. Peter Falk. And he had that one eye that was kind of... But he would go in and ask somebody questions. He suspected he knew that they were the one, and he had asked them some questions, and they would give him some really good answers, really slippery answers, and they had an alibi for everything. And so right about the time that they thought they were going to get away with it, he said, okay, all right, well, thank you very much. And so he would turn to walk away, and then he would stop. And he'd go, one more thing. And that one more thing was always the thing that got him. One more thing. This is like classic Columbo here. Jesus is pulling a Columbo on him. Yeah, I've done all these things. All these things you just read, that's me. I've done it. He would have been a trustee in anybody's church. He'd have been on staff in anybody's church. And Jesus says, one more thing. Because one thing thou lackest, he knew. Everybody says he knows. You can be doing all the right things, but he's going to know the one thing that's holding you back. The one thing that he says isn't a sin. I know what I'm going to say next. I'm just doing this for effect. Because sometimes we think it's always sin that holds us back, but the Bible said that it's the weight and sin that so easily besets us. I'm not talking about how many pounds you are. I'm talking about the weight. I'm talking about things that hold us back. And he says, one thing thou lackest. And then he tells him what this thing is that is not sin. This thing is he's lacking is not a sin. Jesus just wants to know if he's willing to take that next step. If he's willing to give that thing up that is not a sinful thing. It may be sin for us. It may not be a sinful thing. It could be any of the above. But he knows what that one thing is that he's requiring of us. Here's what he says. One thing thou lackest, go thy way, sell whatever thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven. And come, take up thy cross. Everyone say sacrifice. Let me cut to it. Let me cut to the chase right here. I need to make something clear that I don't think we're doing very good in the church world right now. Everyone say cross. Everyone say sacrifice. Here's where we're doing lousy in the church world right now. We are telling the whole world and the whole church how much God loves you, which is true. How much he's able to do for you, and that's true. But we've made it to where we're wanting people to come to church so that we can let them know how much Jesus wants to serve you. Think about it. Think about our messages. We don't hear very much about sacrifice and taking up your cross. Give something up for the Lord. This is something that I gotta give. I gotta pile up at the foot of the cross and be willing to give him everything. Does he require everything? No. I've never met one person that he's made them just absolutely just wipe out everything and give everything and just live in a commune and don't do anything. Just praise him. But you have to be willing to give up anything or everything. You will never get into that place with him unless you are willing. And so he asked this rich young ruler that had it all. You'll get more in heaven. Sell what you have, give to the poor, come follow me. And then he says, take up thy cross and follow me. And he was very sad at the saying and went away grieved, for he had great possessions. He failed to see what was ahead of him. It's like the typical 18-year-old. You talk to them about 401ks and talk to them about Roth IRAs and investing and your future and your retirement. And you can have a great retirement, but there's pizzas to buy. There's new rims to put on the car. There's a better stereo system to upgrade in the factory car, in the factory stereo system there. So there's things, and so to look at that future, it's hard to see that future. And we see this is where he is. He has a hard time seeing the future. And so what held him back? What was his unique sacrifice? What was his one thing? Sell what he had, give to the poor, come follow him. That was his cross. Everyone say sacrifice. So what's holding you back? What's the thing that God may be requiring of you? And I apologize on behalf of all pastors. If we've done a poor job of helping us to understand as believers and as Christians, we are the followers, he is the master. Now, let me just say this. I gave up my career, I gave up all my benefits, I gave up my 401k, every dollar I invested back into Ameritech or Ohio Bell or SBC, the number of times it changed when I worked for them. But every dollar I invested, they matched it with $1 immediately. That's 100% on your money instantly. That's not a bad retirement. That's not a bad return on your investment. My eye care, dental care, health care, doctor's visits, $5 copay. After I worked 40 hours, I went into time and a half. After I worked 48 hours, I went into double time. I went into double time one time. It was on a holiday. I made triple time. Wasn't bad for money I was already making, good money. But there was this one thing that God required out of me. I went from making that kind of money as a single guy. Consequently, in case you haven't figured out, that's when I had the fast motorcycle. Christian, then I got married. Okay, so anyway, so there went the motorcycle. And my situation went into youth ministry. I was considered poverty level. My accountant looked at my tax returns and said, "You're in poverty." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Yeah, you are. Legally, you are." I said, "Well, I don't feel like I am." He said, "Yeah, but you are." We were on WIC for a while. My kids were lining up getting shots at the clinic. We were getting cheese and eggs. I went from a great career to poverty. But I was doing what God called me to do. I bought a broken down duplex on the west side of Columbus and rehabbed it so I could rent out half of it and make the rent on the whole place. And then we lived in the other half for about $100 a month. That was my sacrifice. If I was going to have my wife stay at home with the kids, then that's the sacrifice I was willing to make for my one thing. I'm not getting free cheese now. I've watched God through the years because of our faithfulness and our faithfulness in giving back to him and continuing to serve the Lord and not begrudging it, not making a big deal about it. I'm telling you about it now. I'm not telling you about it. I didn't tell anybody about it while we were in it because I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for us. I didn't want anybody to think that God let us down. I'm telling you, people have given us crazy things through the years. Crazy things. I feel like God led me to give you this. It's been uncomfortable at times. I'm telling you, God will honor his word. And I'm not talking about, you do this for just a life of poverty and a life of hurt and a life of sacrifice and a life of nothing. And then at some point you get to go to heaven and it equalizes all. No, I'm telling you, it is a blessing to serve God. There will be some times there will be a cross. There will be times there will be a sacrifice. This last weekend, we helped this event we went to, and we're there. We already gave on a church level, but I'm sitting there, and we prayed, should we give an offering? God gives me a number. I tell my wife, she writes out a check, and we give an offering. Is that money I could have used for something else? Yes. Could I have bought something nice with that? Yes. But again, I have to understand that I still have to take these steps of sacrifice so that nothing holds me back. He's still testing me. And I still want to keep passing. I still want it to be monopoly money. Am I a good steward with my money? Yes. Do I know how to save money? Yes. Am I a tightwad? Yes. But I still, when he requires something of me, I want to see that money as monopoly money. It's ink on a paper. Follow me. That was his cross. Later on, we see in Acts 26:27, King Agrippa, Paul is preaching and talking. They've got Paul trying to arrest him and find him guilty of some things, and he ends up preaching to the king and those around. And in verse 27 in Acts 26, he says, King Agrippa, believest thou the prophets? I know that thou believest. And Agrippa said to Paul, almost. You have to know something. This is one of the saddest scriptures in the entire Bible. Because here's a guy that had something holding him back and almost broke free of it. Almost. King James, thou persuadest me. You almost convinced me to be a Christian. And Paul said, I would to God that not only thou, but also all that hear me this day were both almost and altogether such as I. I wish you were just like me except for these chains. What held you back, King? Wherever you are right now in your soulish realm, you're asking yourself that question right now. You know the answer. King Agrippa, wherever you are right now, you know the answer. I would have loved to had a conversation with him while he was alive and say, what was it, King? When you're talking to him and you're almost convinced, it means he said some things that made sense to you, but there was something holding you back. What was it, King? Was it your wealth? Your money? Your power? Your possessions? The robe, the throne, the pride that comes along with being a king. What was it, King Agrippa, that held you back? 2 Timothy 4:6-10. Again, the Apostle Paul sees a very devastating situation unfold. This time, before we had King Agrippa, we had a king that said, almost, but something's holding me back. This one's even more sad. 2 Timothy 4:6-10. Paul's in prison, and he knows somehow instinctively he's not getting out this time. He's writing a letter to Timothy saying, bring me some stuff. I'm still writing. I'm still doing some things. I need a code. I need some parchment. I need some ink. I need some stuff. Bring some stuff because I'm still writing. But later on in 2 Timothy, he's saying things like, I fought a good fight. I've kept the faith. My time is at hand. He knows he's not escaping this time. But here's what he says in 2 Timothy 4:6-10. Well, okay, here it is right here. I said it's going to say it. He says it right here. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. Here's a guy that's been shipwrecked and made it through. Bit by a snake, shook it off in the fire. God healed him, converted a whole bunch of sailors. He's been stoned, left for dead. I don't mean stone drinking. I mean hit with rocks till he died, and they left him for dead, and he crawled himself back to safety. Beaten beyond recognition. I mean, there's all these things, and he's escaped all these times. But this time he says, my departure is at hand. I've fought a good fight, and I've finished my course, and I kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me in that day. And not to me only, but to all them that love his appearing. Do thy diligence to come shortly to me. Do what you got to do. Make sure you make it here. For Demas has forsaken me, left me. Demas, a fellow disciple, a fellow follower, has left me. He tells us why. He left me. He betrayed me. He was serving with me, but he went back, having loved this present world, and has departed into Thessalonica, Crescens to Galatia, Titus to Dalmatia. You see, Demas couldn't let go of the world. He somehow couldn't let go of those natural things to continue to follow something supernatural. You see, I have this mindset that this is really the temporary world. This is really, in a sense, the fake world. It's kind of like high school. That's not real life. It's not real life. But it's real while you're in it. But you're not going to be the rest of your life in high school, although my parents thought I was going to be, but that's a different topic for another time. But it's your life at the time, but once you graduate, you're in real life. Well, it's kind of the same thing. This is where we are right now, but I'm not spending forever here. I'm going to spend forever somewhere, so I want to make sure I get the right things right and understand after graduation. I want to make sure I understand after I leave here there's something else. I want to get that right, so I have to live right here to make sure I get that right. Because I don't want anything to hold me back. This is not Funway Freeway for all of you old guys that used to go to the arcade on the west side of Columbus at Westland Mall. This is not the arcade where you could put another quarter in and get 3 more lives. This is not your console at home where you can be knocked off in a shoot 'em up game and then respawn somewhere. Once I am gone, whether by rapture or by death, I get one shot. I've got to get that right. I don't want anything to hold me back that would cause me to get there and go, it wasn't worth it. What was it? The inconvenience? It's the same thing with the seatbelt. Somebody in a hospital wondering, why didn't I have my seatbelt on? I've been in this horrible accident. It didn't have to be this bad. Why didn't I put it on? It was such a small decision because of inconvenience or wrinkle my tie or be a little bit uncomfortable. Now look at me. How many people enter into heaven or enter into judgment and stand face to face with the Lord and look at their life? Demas couldn't let go of the world. He loved what the world had to offer. He didn't want to pick up his cross. He didn't want to make any sacrifice. He was a lot like Lot's wife. He was too fond of the world and just couldn't bear to leave it. I want to do the God thing. I want to be right in eternity, but man, this still looks so good. It still feels so good, and there's so much here that I like. With a little bit more digging, we would find out that the name Demas in the Greek means popularity. How many people, for the sake of just wanting to be liked, the cool guy at the office, the nice guy, going out with all my buddies at the office, don't want to be the outcast. How many people will be held back from what God has for them because of popularity? The musicians come. In the book of Mark chapter 8, verse 36 and 37, it says, for what shall it profit a man? Everybody say if. If he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for a soul? Can I just help us here today in Pickaway County, here in Circleville? Most of us here today won't gain the whole world for our soul. Sorry to disappoint you. I have heard some people, I have watched a few videos where some movie stars, some musicians have admitted making certain deals, and when pressed, some of them were a little bit reluctant, I just have sold myself and I got my fame and my fortune. And you can almost see the shallowness in the eyes that now that they've had this life, and the ones that I've seen interviewed were older. It's almost like I can't undo it now, and I've got all the fame and I've got all the wealth. But now I'm closer to my eternity, because it was fun to make that deal when I was in my 20s, and wild parties, wild women, all the stuff that the world had to offer. And now they're older, and they're seeing things differently. There are some of those cases where there's musicians and movie stars that you suspect have done that, and some of them have even admitted to it. However, most will be held back for far much less than fame or millions of dollars. So what's it going to be? What would it be for us? Probably not an incredible amount of fortune or fame. A little extra volunteer overtime keeps you out of church. I'm not saying overtime's wrong. I worked overtime. I just didn't volunteer overtime when I needed to be fed in the house of God. I drew the line there. I didn't want to take my time away from hearing something that might change me in eternity, because I knew I would get weak. Now, you can probably be strong without ever going to church, but for me, I needed a little dose regularly to kind of keep me in alignment. Will it be our pride? Unforgiveness? Somebody did you so wrong, I'm not going to turn them loose, but you're not turning you loose. You're not turning yourself loose for God to be able to forgive you. How about some habit? Some habit that you know that the Lord has convicted you about, but you continue to say, I don't think it's that bad. And it's not as bad as theirs. And I'm better than I used to be. Is there something that God has said one more thing? I'm just telling you that for me, He has said just one more thing for the last 50 years of my life. I feel like I'm at a good point. Yeah, there's one more thing. And it's not in a way that's just, I can never keep you happy. No, it's just He's wanting me to grow. He's wanting me to learn. He's wanting to take me into new spiritual places. He's wanting to take me into new power, new authority. Do you know in any area of life, when you get a promotion, you're asking for new areas of conflict? I want to be a manager. You're going to get better benefits. You're going to get a raise. You're going to get some perks with that. But you're asking for more conflict. Well, I want to be a district manager. Well, you're going to get more money. You're going to get more perks. You're going to get more power. You're going to get more things. You're going to get more perks, but also more responsibility and more conflict. And so the reason why God would have us to always continue to take steps is because He wants us to grow. He wants to promote us. He wants us to walk in new places in the Spirit. But I got to learn some things and sacrifice some things for me to get there. So an inappropriate relationship, is it a relationship God is saying that's not good for you? That's not healthy for you? Or am I just too busy? I got a lot going on right now. My career right now is really taking off, Pastor. That's okay. But if it gets in the way of you and your next step, if it's holding you back, if God is blessing you with that promotion, thank God, we're going to celebrate with you. But if that thing is the thing that's tearing up your family, if that thing's the thing that's tearing up your relationship with God, no matter how much money it is, no matter what the opportunity looks like, if I just do this for a season, eventually I'll be able to do more for the kingdom. I've heard that trap. The enemy sets that trap out all the time. Just sell out right now, that at some point I'll be able to do more for the kingdom. I'll have more money to give to the church. I'll have more time to give to the church. If I just do this for about 5 or 10 years, then all of that will change. I've seen people backslide and walk away from God during that time frame because something held them back. Are you just too busy? If you had some church hurt, You just wanted to enjoy your life for a while before you make the commitment. Remember, you never know when the accident's coming. You never know when Jesus is coming back. You don't know the day that any of our souls would be required of us. If we could all stand today. When I stood at that pump, read it, what's holding you back, and I felt like the Lord said, what's holding you back? That was something I had to answer for me. What's my thing? So I'm asking you today, not to tell me, I don't need to know. But what's holding you back from making a commitment to the Lord or taking that next step if you already know the Lord? Is there something? Are you good right now? I feel like I'm in a season right now, I'm good right now. Not good as in a plateau, good as in I'm trying to live and be disciplined in what He's already asked me to step into. So I'm working through that, and I probably, as soon as I get really comfortable in that new discipline, I'm going to pull up and have to fill up my car again, and He's going to take me to another place. So what's holding you back? The question that was contemplated with that is if you don't know what is holding you back, you need to contemplate. So my question is this: is there something holding you back? And if so, is it worth your safety? Is it worth you being saved or not saved? Luke 12:40. Be ye therefore ready also. This ready here is in the context of making sure your soul, your spirit is ready to meet Him. Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when you think not. Nobody knows they're getting in an accident that day. Last week I got a phone call. Chaplain, can you make it to OSU Hospital? I was in a meeting in my office, had to take the phone call. One officer still in critical condition, getting updates daily on that. But 2 people went into eternity. 10 in the morning on a state route. Had no idea that would be the day. One was in her mid-20s, the other in their mid-30s. I don't want anything to hold me back. Anything. I can't think of anything that would be worth it. We have to understand that if we would really rationalize our way through it, nothing would be worth missing our time with God. I'm opening up this altar for you to examine yourself, for you to ask the Lord, God, is there anything in me? Is there anything that's stopping me from serving you or going to that next promotion or going to that next place with you? Is there anything that's holding me back? And you answer it between you and God. And if you do, then begin to ask yourself, am I willing to surrender this? And then if He requires it of you, are you willing to give it? Any of us would say, God, I'll give you anything, until God says, okay, what about this? And then He points it out. And then we go, are you really going to ask that of me? Are you really going to require that of me? Lord, it'll be worth it. As we come to this altar today, Lord,